Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. We got a huge piece of news that dropped just earlier today, which is that TheFlow's report has been partially disclosed on HackerOne. And this has revealed a bunch of things that we had already kind of assumed, and this has kind of confirmed that our suspicions were correct. So one thing here, first of all, we've got the post from TheFlow himself saying that the PS4 up to 11.0 and PS5 up to firmware 8.20 are vulnerable to CVE 2006-4304. HackerOne report, he links to it. I'll share details about successful exploitation at TyphoonCon. So we still have the talk coming up at TyphoonCon on the 30th to 31st of May, where he will hopefully go into more detail. But the fact that this report is now partially disclosed means that other hackers in the scene, people like maybe Spectre or Slayer's Govey, potentially others in the scene, might be able to take the information that is in this report. If we go to it right here, they might be able to take this information and figure out how to create their own implementation of it. And if they're able to do that, we could actually see this jailbreak, at least for the PS4, potentially come out before June or July when we were originally expecting it. So that is kind of what the hope is right now. So we already suspected that it was going to be this CVE from 2006, which I've reported on in previous videos. This was actually discovered a while ago, and it turns out, you know, the PS4 and PS5 is vulnerable to this. There was a script made where you could actually crash your PS4 and PS5 using this up to firmware 11.0, of course, on the PS4 and 8.20 on the PS5. And that's how we've known for a while that we're probably going to get a jailbreak for those firmwares, although the PS5 wasn't quite as certain because TheFlow never mentioned the PS5 up until now. However, now of course he is mentioning PS5 up to 8.20, so that is a good sign that potentially we could see a PS5 jailbreak with this exploit as well at some point in the future. So you can see here it has been partially disclosed. They don't tend to do full disclosures anymore, PlayStation. I think they kind of learned their mistake. The first report that TheFlow made to Sony when that was disclosed for the first jailbreak, which was 6.72 for the PS4, it was a full disclosure, and it actually contained the source code to the exploit in the disclosure, and that allowed people to get a working implementation of it on the PS4 really quickly after it was disclosed. Ever since then, Sony tends to do partial disclosures where they just have a summary by PlayStation about the bug. So it will still require a bit of work, maybe quite a bit of work from other hackers in the scene to be able to reproduce this themselves. Now, with that being said, it does look like this is a larger disclosure than you would typically see from the normal partial ones, because they have included some code segments here. So down here, we've got regarding exploitability of the overwrite. Note that the allocation for malloc can be influenced via LCP header, and there is a code segment here that can be downloaded. And of course, it says see attachment for proof of concept that leaks data and can eventually panic the device. So there is an attachment of code here that you can run that will obviously kernel panic, but it also leaks data, which I don't think we had from the script that we've had access to for a while now, where we're able to cause a panic. That just causes a panic. This one actually leaks data, which is quite a bit further. And yeah, further on here, we've got at A3, it's possible to read out of bounds from the mbuff when comparing the name and password with memcompare. Since different responses are returned back based on the comparison, an attacker might be able to use this as an oracle to leak the out of bounds data by setting the name and secret beforehand. This could be used to leak pointers and defeat kernel ASLR, which of course is address space layout randomization. Note that this vulnerability is still affecting NetBSD and OpenBSD. FreeBSD seemed to have depreciated this whole protocol, which is odd that the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 are still vulnerable to this, since FreeBSD patched this out a long time ago. For some reason, they seem to be using a depreciated version of that particular protocol, which makes the PS4 and PS5 vulnerable to something from 2006 that was patched back in 2006, which is really odd to see. So that should definitely give some other hackers in the scene something to work with to try and kind of implement their own exploitation of this. Although this does not actually include an exploit as per se. It doesn't include code for an exploit. It includes code that furthers the vulnerability to the point where it can leak data, not just be used to, use a denial of service to crash the console. It can actually leak data now with this code segment, so that is a step forward for other hackers to try and implement this, but it isn't the full exploit included like you would see in potentially a full disclosure, like with TheFlow's original 6.72 kernel exploit, where it was fully disclosed and there was a code segment added for a full proof of concept for actually exploiting the kernel on FreeBSD, and it just had to be translated over to the PS4. In this case, a bit more work involved to actually get this turned into a full kernel exploit on the PS4, and potentially a lot more to get it working on the PS5 too. And of course, when it comes to the PS5, there's a lot of extra security measures that the PS5 has, like execute-only memory and the hypervisor and a bunch of other things implemented that is going to make this a lot harder to try and implement on the PS5, even though it is vulnerable to the actual vulnerability itself. So, you know, that's why I think the PS5, if it is possible on the PS5, it'll take quite a bit longer. PS4 is what we are looking at in the short term, potentially a few weeks, maybe a month or so, until we see a re-implementation of this. Anyway, that's it for this video. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update on this. Very interesting stuff. You know, this is a huge deal. If you've not been around before, anytime something like this has happened, any kind of disclosure from the flow relating to a kernel exploit, even though it is a partial disclosure, not a full disclosure, every time this has happened in the past, it's resulted in a jailbreak for the PS4 within about a month or so after the partial disclosure comes out. So it's happened now. We have the partial disclosure. Now we need to wait and see what happens next. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video.